Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Issei adopted by Great Red Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like this video. Though support the NRXJEK the Snow Wolf for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in description. Let's start this video. Teenage boy, around 17 years old. He had chocolate brown hair and yellowish eyes. And a really shitty haircut with twin tails. From what we could see, he was lying in a red landscape. It looked like Mars. The landscape was full of crimson red flames, but the boy didn't seem bothered by it. If anything, it was calming the boy down. He was sleeping. The sky was blood red, it looked like a galaxy. Suddenly, a mighty voice spoke. "Tell me, boy, are you afraid?" The voice spoke. The teenager woke up. But his eyes showed no emotion. The only person that was in the space was the teenager, nobody else. Who said that? The teen looked up into the sky, his face and eyes still showed no emotion. A tear showed up into the sky, and the tear widened. Out of the tear came a massive red western dragon with a large horn on his snout. It had 2 sets of wings and golden eyes. At least from what the boy could see. It looked like the dragon was about 100 meters in overall length. Scared? Who even are you? The boy asked as he looked at the dragon. Ha! You still can't recognize me at first sight. Even after all this time. The dragon spoke. The boy took a minute to think. He finally found out who the dragon was. He had trouble speaking, his legs were trembling for some reason. Eventually, the boy finally gathered up the courage to speak. Great Red. The boy muttered. Ah, so you do remember the now known Great Red spoke. The dragon finally decided to turn its head to the boy, slowly flying down to the ground. Boy, or should I say, Issei Haidu, do you know why I am here? Great asked. The boy's face finally showed a tinge of emotion. He was confused, however. SIGH, I'm sorry, I don't know. Issei responded. I've been watching you ever since you were born. You're a very interesting person, you know that. Great Red said. Issei's eyes widened at what the dragon just said. But he composed himself, at least to some degree. Is that a compliment? Issei asked. Yes. You should be honored. After all, you got a compliment from such a mighty being. Great Red said. You know Issei, Drake knew what he was doing when he chose you. You soon caught my interest after I first saw you. I sensed great potential in you. So I made a decision, you will be my host. I will give you a chance to see if you are worthy of me. Great Red said with pride in his voice. Issei's eyes looked like dinner plates. Did he hear the dragon correctly? He was going to host the Great Red. How, what are you talking about? Issei yelled. SIGH, you will soon understand. Great Red said. The dragon's body started glowing crimson red. It condensed itself into a small red and gold orb. The orb soon made its way to the teenager. It floated in front of him for a while. All the boy could do was stare. For some reason, he couldn't move. Finally, the orb moved. It moved into Issei's chest. Words cannot describe how much pain the boy was feeling, it was immeasurable. After a minute or so, the orb disappeared. It was in the boy's body. However, it was dormant. He would have to awaken it. He woke up. GHHHH. Issei was seen panicking and breathing heavily in his bed. The windows in his room were closed, and so were the blinds. But a small ray of sunlight was emanating through the windows due to one of the blinds being left sideways, unlike the rest. It was about 6 am in the town of Kuo. Issei's room looked like a mess. There was clothing thrown everywhere, his desk was piled with complete homework and school textbooks. But that wasn't the main concern. That was Issei, he looked terrible. His eyes looked red and were extremely puffy. Did he cry himself to sleep? His skin held tons of bruises. There were cuts on his skin and blood stains under those cuts. He looked extremely pale, indicating that he hadn't been getting much sunlight lately. His eyes, it held no emotion. He looked like tears weren't the only thing that was coming out of his eyes, blood too. He looked like he was going to end it all. He was in an extreme state of depression. He had been getting nightmares about them. Issei barely had the strength to even speak. But he still tried nonetheless. Hey Drake. Can you hear me? Issei managed to mutter. Issei heard a loud yawn inside his head. Of course, it was his partner and friend, Drake. Yes partner, loud and clear. Drake said. But something was off, even Drake didn't sound right. He wasn't depressed. Rather, he was feeling terrible for his host. I know, it's weird that I'm talking to you this way, but I don't have the strength to speak. Aside from that, did you see that dream last night? Issei asked. Drake's eyes widened at the sudden memory he had. It was Issei's dream. Yes, I did. However, don't think otherwise, the being you call Great Red really chose you as his host, Drake said. They both couldn't believe it. But they both still had questions why. SIGH, normally, I'd say you should train to awaken this gear. But in your state, I would not recommend that. Drake said. Issei slowly but surely turned his head to his left arm. He didn't want to admit it. But he was right. Nobody knew how, but Issei slowly got up from his bed and stood up. It was a miracle how he didn't fall down in pain. He was wearing a simple white t-shirt and black shorts. His legs were trembling. How did he not drop to his knees in pain? I mean, his condition was terrible. Greg saw what his partner was doing. He immediately tried to stop him. So he spoke. Issei, please, don't do this to yourself. Don't make yourself suffer anymore. Just rest. Greg looked like he was about to cry if you saw his face. He actually cared deeply for his partner's friend's well-being. He hated seeing him in his current condition. If only he could help somehow. But he couldn't. He was just a soul sealed in a sacred gear. Nothing more. Issei was the only host who saw Drake as a friend rather than a tool for fighting. He couldn't bear it. He just wanted to help his broken friend, but how? He could literally do nothing. Absolutely nothing. What a friend he was. Truly the worst. Drake, please. I'll be fine, I'm just going to go use the bathroom. I can't just stay in my bedroom all day. Issei replied. Issei's condition was so bad that he couldn't even talk. Just what could have caused such despair in the boy? And why? Issei walked out of his room, with his legs still trembling. He walked down the staircase. His hands were being dragged against the cold metal railing. It was still pretty dark in the Haidu residence. Regardless if it was morning. He walked past the room of Ria's grimoire. The door was left open. Issei decided to step in. Because, well, nobody was in the house. Except for Issei. The room was luxurious. There was a white and gold king-size bed in the top middle part of the room. Right across from the bed was a 75-inch flat-screen TV. On one side of the room, the wall was just a window, showing the entire view of the town of Kao. On the other side of the room was a large bookshelf. It was filled to the brim with books based on different types of legends and mythologies. And next to the bookshelf was a white and gold couch. It was made out of an expensive type of leather. With a small blanket on the couch hanging from the back of the couch, Issei stood there for a few minutes, just observing the room he was now in. After what seemed like an eternity, he finally decided to walk out. He nearly fell twice while walking out of the room. He took a couple more steps out of the room, finally making it to the bathroom. Issei walked in, turning on the light the second he walked in. Issei just stared at himself in the mirror. He looked horrible. If anyone saw him, they would think he had gone through hell. Absolutely war-torn. I don't understand why did this happen. What did I do to deserve this? Is it because I'm a pervert? Because I'm nice? Just why? Haven't I suffered enough? Maybe if I just end it all, they would feel even a little remorse. Even the smallest. Issei thought. Greg had enough. Issei, I'm sorry, I couldn't help but listen to your thoughts. But please, I beg you don't think like this. You're thinking of ending it all. For whatever reason your mates did such a thing, I promise you, it's not because you're nice. There is no way that's the case. Don't ever go thinking like that again. Please, stop. Drake roared. Issei heard what the dragon said. He knew he was right. But he had no response. Not even a thought. The boy took off his shirt for whatever reason. But his torso looked terrible. There were 8 black spots surrounding his torso. 3 spots on his stomach represented a triangle. There was 1 black spot on each of his shoulders. There was 1 spot on each of his elbows as well. In total, 2 spots on each arm. And finally, a massive black spot on this back. If you haven't guessed by now, the spots are the evil pieces. They malfunction for a reason I will get into in the next chapter. And now, it's absorbing his life force. Partner, if you don't do something about those pieces, you will die a painful death in 3 days. Drake said in a sad voice. Wow, they couldn't believe it. Is this how Issei was going to die? Just like this? Issei already tried contacting everyone he knew for help. But nobody, not a single, would answer when he most needed it. Asper was in the hospital with Valerie, waiting for her recovery. Azazel was almost always in the Grigori due to recent events with his faction. Serchiches, Grafia, Michael, and Vali were all busy with something related to the 3 factions. Roswis was called back into the Norse pantheon by Odin. It had something to do with the seal trapping Trahixa, or 666. The orc. You'll see. And the student council was far too busy with their king's project. In the end, nothing could be done. Issei was just going to die a sad and pathetic death. And nothing could be done. Well, Drake, it was nice knowing you. Maybe when I die they'll realize what they had done. And just feel a little remorse. I just wanted to feel loved. And instead, I because their shield, just someone they could use. In the end, I'm worthless. Drake heard what the boy said. And he was right. He couldn't do anything. He was going to die. But neither of them knew. He was already awake. Certain brown-haired boy is seen walking in the halls of Kuo Academy, probably in no direction in particular. Eventually, a blonde teenager with gray eyes approaches the boy. Hey Issei. The blonde boy said. Issei quickly turned his head to the right a bit to see Kiba walking towards him in a formal manner. He would always walk like that. Issei always found it a little weird. "Oh, hey Kiba. How are you?" Issei asked. "But man, you? I've got some great news too." Kiba spoke. "Oh, really now? Spill it, man," Issei said. Issei did look a little anxious from what Kiba said, but he never realized. From what Kaneko said, Rias and Akeno plan on coming back today from college. They have a day off. However, I doubt that they're here right now, Kiba explained. Issei's eyes widened in excitement. He hadn't seen those two in about a month and a half. "No way, you're not just jerking me off, are you?" Issei asked anxiously. Kiba was happy to see his friend so happy. After all, he was in love with those girls, and they loved him back, right? "Haha. I wouldn't lie to you. Come on, let's get to the clubroom," Kiba said. They both began to walk to the clubroom. They were on the other side of the school, so they were rather far away. But Issei had a smile on his face during the entire walk. "Rias, Akeno, I've missed them so much. I'm so happy I'll be able to see them again. Even after all this time, I'll never stop loving those two," Issei thought. "Alright, we're finally here, but are they here yet?" Issei asked. As Issei asked this question, Kiba looked at his phone and smiled. "Seems that way. Let's go," Kiba said. As the two were walking, Drake on the other hand, was feeling uneasy for whatever reason. "Oh god, why this feeling again? Is something going to happen to Issei again? I'm hoping not, and whatever will happen, I doubt he's going to be able to defend himself using the sacred gear. Just what does today have in store for you, Issei?" Drake thought. Issei slowly opened the double door into the clubroom. Creak. Drake immediately tensed up as soon as Issei entered the clubroom. Why? But Issei felt different, however. It felt like an eternity, even if it was 2 months. But there they were. Rias was seen at her normal desk, working on what seemed to be college work. And Akeno was standing right next to her helping her out, but it looked like she had some work of her own as well. "Rias, Akeno. How are you? It's been too long," Issei said. Normally, those two would immediately jump up at him in excitement, but they just sat there, unfazed. They didn't even reply to his words. Maybe she just didn't hear him for whatever reason. "Rias, Akeno." Issei spoke again, finally getting the attention of the two. "Sigh, hello Issei, it's been a while." Ria spoke, not even glancing at Issei, rather, she was more focused on her work. Issei was taken aback at the cold tone she used to speak with Issei. Issei wondered why they were acting like this. Maybe college work got to them. "Is it that difficult?" Hello Issei, yes, it has been a while. It's nice to see you again," Akeno said. She used the same tone that Ria's used. "What's going on?" But he could already tell. "Yeah, something is off, and they're trying to hide it," Issei thought. "So, you sense something off about those two, partner?" Drake asked his host mentally. "Yeah, what's going on? This isn't like them," Issei said. "Don't question them. First, let them do their thing. It'll all play out," Drake said. Alright, I'll stay shut," Issei said. As Issei was talking with his friend, Kiba spoke. "Hey you two, how have you been? Has college been treating you well?" Kiba asked the two women in front of him. "Yes, Kiba is asking the one question I couldn't ask. Thank you," Issei thought. The two finally glanced up to look at Kiba. They didn't do the same with Issei. They just spoke to him in a monotone voice. But with Kiba, it had some type of emotion, rather than any. "Yes Kiba. I'm sorry. The college has been keeping us a lot busier than we thought it would. But today, we had a day off. We decided to check up on how everyone is doing, right, Akeno?" Rias explained. "Yes. But from the looks of it, everything seems to be going well. It looks like we made the right decision when we made Asia the club president," Akeno said. Asia was seen looking out the windows of the orc. She turned her head back to Akeno as soon as she finished speaking. "Thank you Akeno. All of us have been doing well. And I've been enjoying being president," Asia said. It was strange. Issei knew Asia heard how she spoke to him, so why didn't she say anything? Did she let her say that on purpose? As Asia said this, someone else spoke. "Rias, Akeno, I've been doing better myself. I and Kuroka are slowly getting along, bet she's also getting help from Yasaka," Kaneko said. "Oh? I'm glad to know Kuroka is doing better. I'm happy for her," Rias spoke. As the others were speaking with each other, Issei was looking around the room. He saw that Arena and Zenobia were on the other side of the room, however, they weren't speaking at all. They just stayed quiet. They really didn't have any expression on their face. It was odd nonetheless. "Issei, maybe you should leave. I have an uneasy feeling about being around them," Drake said. His voice sounded a lot more panicked. "Why? Why Drake, these are my friends, why should I leave?" Issei asked in a confused tone. "Listen, partner, I feel as if something is off. As a 500,000-year-old dragon I know when something is off," Drake said, sounding even more panicked. "Drake, please calm down. I'll leave soon, I swear. Issei said. Alright, good. Just be as quick as possible. Drake said. However, in reality, Issei's bangs were covering his eyes. If anyone were to look close enough, they would see a golden glow terminating from his eyes. He slowly walked up to Rias. So, that's it. You just came to check on us? Issei said in a cold voice, his bangs still covering his eyes. Rias immediately picked up on his cold tone. She did the exact same. She sharpened her voice in a strict manner. Yes, Issei. That's the only reason why we came here. We simply don't have time to be around you guys anymore. As college work is putting a strain on me. And Akeno being the vice president and I being the president of the faculty is making it that much harder on us. But, our senpai is taking care of our work from time to time AGAI. It was strange, Rias mentioned the senpai in a strange way kinda way. Now, if you'll excuse us, we must go back to our dorm. If the rest of you want, you may accompany us. Akeno said. The rest of the orc except Kiba and Issei nodded in agreement. Oh, Kiba. I forgot to mention something. Rias said. Kiba turned back and looked at Rias with a curious look. Yes. Rias. Kiba asked. Ever since I and Akeno left the orc, the contract requests have been uprising, and since Issei isn't the best at contracts, I have to ask you to cover a few more for the week. Kiba's face was full of shock, but Issei stood still with his bangs still covering his eyes. She never thought that she would outright insult his friend like that. Even if she was right, it was still not a good thing to say. But Kiba stood there, silent. Not even a breath. SIGH, I'll take your silence as a yes. Rias said. Alright Rias, let's go. Akeno said. Right. Rias said. The entire orc and Rias and Akeno walked out of the club room, leaving Issei and Kiba alone. Issei was still quiet. Kiba didn't know what to do. He wanted to speak with Issei, but for some reason, he couldn't. What was stopping him? It wasn't hard. So why? But Kiba decided to take his mind off that for now. The fact that he had to change his schedule because of a few more contracts was annoying. He didn't even have time to spar. Sparring was the only thing that would keep Issei from thinking about this, and now, there wasn't even time for that. A month and a half, and that's it, that's all you say? I don't understand why. Why have things changed so much? What happened? Issei roared. Iran snapped Kiba out of his thoughts. All he could do was stare. What could he say? He could try to help, but he didn't. What was stopping him? I need answers, I need to know. What happened? Issei said. Issei kicked the clubroom door down, breaking it and leaving splinters and wood pieces across the floor of the hallway. Issei ran out of the clubroom like a thief running out of a bank, leaving Kiba in the clubroom to stare at the broken door. 10 minutes later, Issei is seen running in the streets of the town of Kuo. Where was he running? The Kuo College course. Issei, listen. I know you want answers, but please. You can ask them another time. I feel really uneasy about this. Drake spoke to Issei. Ugh? Drake. What has gotten into you? You've been complaining non-stop about how you feel uneasy about this. Just shut up. Issei said. Partner, you don't understand. Your emotions are causing the evil pieces to react. You need to calm down. The dragon roared in Issei's mind. Issei finally decided temporarily sever the ink between him and Drake, not allowing them to speak to each other. About a minute or so later, he made it to the Kuo College course. It was a tall and luxurious building. It only made sense. Kuo, for whatever reason, has been making a comeback in finance lately, attracting more companies to settle their businesses in the town. Right in front of the building was a small park with a luxurious water fountain and a statue of an old person. Probably the founder of the college. Issei would slowly walk up to the building. But he quickly hid behind a tree. Why? Because he saw the entire orc saying their goodbyes to Rias and Akeno. The last thing Issei wanted was to get caught. But he needed a way to suppress his aura. So, he contacted Drake. He connected the link between them once again. Oh, it seems as if you've calmed down. Good, start heading home. Drake said. Listen Drake, regardless of what you say. I will go into that building, so you might as well respect my decision. I need you to suppress my aura. Drake knew Issei would not budge. So he did the most he could and suppressed his aura so he wouldn't be sensed by any supernatural being. Thank you Drake. Issei said. They both smiled, but it wouldn't last for long as Issei soon put on a serious face as he saw the orc, except for Rias and Akeno leave. The two women finally decided to walk into the luxurious building they call college. The second Issei knew it was safe, he walked into the building as well. It was around 7 p.m. on a Friday, so nobody was around, except for students who stayed behind for whatever reason they must have. The inside was fancy. There was a large couch made of what looked to be a very expensive type of leather, and it also had a small coffee table in front of it as well, with a bookcase full of books based on different mythologies and legends. There was also a large desk with a couple of monitors. With the receptionist still working there. Issei looked around the room for a minute. He saw the two women. He was looking for an exit out of a door in the left corner of the room. He knew it was leading outside, as there was a window showing the night sky. As soon as he knew it was safe, he walked out the same door. He took a deep breath as he was observing his surroundings. There was a large pathway created by using shattered stones. The rest was surrounded by tall green grass, and there were a lot of trees around as well. He couldn't tell what species the trees were, but he didn't care. He saw Rias and Akeno walking down the same path, just a couple of meters away from him. It looked like they were walking into another building. By that, he knew he was on the right path so far. The two women walked into the building, indicating that now was the chance to walk in there as well. When he walked into the building, it was the same as last time, luxurious. He saw those women walking up a large staircase. He guessed it was leading to the dorms. Over the course of a few minutes, he followed them up the staircase for what seemed like forever. Until they finally made a last right turn, indicating that they were done. They never realized they were being followed. Probably because of their lack of awareness around them. From what Issei could see, they were headed toward a double door at the end of the hallway. The double door had blurred windows. And there was a golden engraved case on the door. Saying, "Student faculty." The two women finally made it to the door, knocking on it a couple of times. A couple of moments later, a blond man with violet eyes opened the door. He looked to be around 5'11". And he looked rather muscular. Maybe he did some type of martial arts. Or maybe a sport. Who's this fuckboy? Issei thought. Who's this fuckboy? Drake thought. The two women he was looking for spoke with the man for a few minutes, and after that, they finally entered. Issei, knowing this was his chance, sprinted past all the doors in the hallway to catch the door close. He just barely made it. He slightly opened the door, not to a point where it was noticeable. He was also able to see through the blurred windows of the room, thanks to his eyesight. Issei, please listen. I have a very bad feeling about that room. Drake yelled. Drake, didn't I tell you I'm not leaving this place until I get answers? Issei replied. Yes, I understand, but please. Hear me out. Do not peek into that room. I feel like if you look into that room your life will change forever. Drake roared. Drake, I told you. I will know what is going on. Nothing will stop me. Issei said. As soon as Issei said this, he once again severed the link between him and the dragon. Allowing no contact whatsoever among them. Issei, no. The room was just like most of the campus. Luxurious. There were two white couches with gold accents surrounding a dark oak coffee table with gold accents. Further in the room, there were two bookshelves taking up each wall. They were both filled to the brim with books. But the room's luxury wasn't the most surprising part of the room. It was the people in the room. There, he saw the two women he was looking for wrapping themselves around that same man he saw earlier. Like a snake eating its prey. The two women were both smiling. A genuine, warm smile. Akeno had the same smile when she finally reconciled with her father. Rias had the same smile when she finally heard Issei loved her. But now this. The boy and the dragon widened their eyes at the scene they just saw. Issei's eyes turned emotionless. Drake went to the depths of hell to make sure his eyes were telling the truth. There was no doubt this was happening in real life. The first thing Drake did was check up on his partner. He needed to make sure he was okay. Drake couldn't believe it, not a single emotion in sight. He tried to get a hold of him, some way to contact him. He tried, again and again, but he couldn't get through to him. It's like his body just shut down. His knees were trembling, his eyes there was blood flowing out of them. It was a miracle how he was still standing and functional. After giving up on contacting his partner, he decided to check up on his body. His body was reacting in a horrible way. His emotions are exceeding the critical limits if he went any further. It would happen. How? How is his body capable of reacting in such a horrible way? It's not possible. Drake said to himself. The evil pieces. They were supposed to give him life. Why are they reacting this way? This shouldn't be possible. Partner, you need to leave. Now. Issei still couldn't hear him. Issei, you need to leave. Now. GR said. Scene change. Inside the room. Listen, you two, I know you both like me. But please, not here. We still have work to do. The man yelled. I promise, we can do this tomorrow, just not now, please. I said I'd go on a date with you two yesterday. The man said. Akeno, being the bitch she is in this story, decided to flirt again. Come on, Itsuki, I know you want this just as much as I want you. So, come on. Let's take a break. Akeno began walking towards Itsuki, planning to sit on his lap. Akeno. Rias yelled. Itsuki turned his at light speed to the source of the voice, while Akeno just slowly turned her head to Rias. Itsuki felt pure fear. He just sat there, not moving a single muscle. Akeno turned back to Itsuki, looking at him with a seductive face. He had the most goofy smile on his face. How could he not? Bro was making out with two beauties. Come on, Itsuki, I'll show you who's the best, come here. Akeno said with her voice filled with seduction. The kendo pushed her entire weight onto Itsuki, her breasts pushed onto his chest. He was blushing even more now, his face was basically a tomato. Oh? So now you're trying to get it on with him, not without me. Ria said. Akeno, stop. You know I love him too. If you don't stop right now I will have to force you to let go of him. Alright then, Riaz. Come get him. Akeno said. Riaz basically threw herself at Akeno, knocking her over to the other side of the couch. Ria smirked and Itsuki was sweating bullets. Oh really? Do you love him too? I doubt it. He's the first man I've ever met who hasn't stared at me with a disgusting look. He's kind, he's manly, and he's good looking as well. How could I not fall for him? Akeno said. Ria's blood started to boil at her comment, but at the same time, she was right. Those were some of the many reasons why she fell in love with Itsuki. SIGH I suppose you have a point. Unlike some other dumb and naive pervert I know. Ria said. Akeno's eyes looked down at the remembrance of that man. You know, I'm just happy that we're slowly taking that guy out of our lives. He's just a dumb and naive pervert that foolishly sacrificed his life for us. What a dumbus, and he's obsessed with breasts too. That's all he looks at. Akeno said. Meanwhile our boy Issei. I know you heard what they said, but get up, you need to move. Drake roared in Issei's mind. Issei finally managed to get into contact with Drake again. But just for how long? Issei couldn't get up, the evil piece's reaction caused all sorts of cuts and bruises around his body. There was blood leaking out of his eyes, not a single tear. He was in so much pain, his legs were trembling, he couldn't move. But something happened, some type of golden particles started to form around Issei. He felt like he had strength left, but just barely. But the energy he got, he slowly started to get up knowing that he will do whatever it takes to survive. Issei. You got up. Quickly, leave. Get out of there, now. Drake said, but Issei was only standing. He wasn't moving at all. Partner, listen to me. The evil pieces are corrupting, your body is not in the right place. Move your left arm up if you can hear me. It took a moment, but Issei's left arm slowly moved up. Alright, partner, get out of this place. Walk down the hallway and leave this place. Issei slowly began to walk out of the building. Only to find himself in the park. But what would happen there? Issei began to walk down the stairs leading out the dorm. It took a couple of minutes, but he eventually got to the park in front of the school. He sat on one of the benches facing the water fountain in the middle of the park. He had to rest, he was in no condition to do anything. His legs were still trembling, even if he was sitting down. He looked war-torn. Issei, can I expel? Brake's words were cut off by Issei. I don't get it, why? They went to such lengths to cheat. And for what? To make me feel bad. Am I that worthless? Issei asked himself. Partner, you don't need to think like that, you're better than that. You don't need them. Drake said, trying to comfort Issei. Yeah? You're right, I don't. But I don't understand why they did it. It just makes no sense, Issei said. Flashback. End. Issei was seen lost in thought in the bathroom. He was just standing in front of mirror, thinking of the past events. Even Drake didn't know what to do, he didn't know of any spells that could fix his body's condition. He wanted to help so bad, but he couldn't. So I suppose it's time I help. Hey, can you hear me? Issei took a look around, he never hear a voice like that, who was it? Even Drake was confused, he had an assumption of who it was, but doubted it was the entity he was thinking of. Kid, look at your right arm. Issei took a look at his right arm, he saw a golden glow emanating from the opposite side of his palm. Both Drake and Issei's eyes widened. Who was this person inside Issei? It was only now that Drake sensed a second consciousness inside of his partner's body, but it can't be. Hello there, Issei Haidu. Who are you? Issei asked. Seriously, by now, you should know who I am, don't play dumb. Do you not remember that dream you had? Issei was thinking for a while, he put his finger on his chin. As soon as he remembered, his eyes widened. Radar Red? Issei asked. Well, there you go, you are correct. I am Great Red, the Apocalypse Dragon. The now known Great Red spoke. Great Red? I do not understand, why are you living in my host's body? Drake asked out loud. Simple, a fate like this for your host is something I saw coming a mile away. But I find your host very interesting. I decided to seal myself into him. I believe he will reach greater heights, unimaginable power. Great Red said, complimenting the boy. Issei couldn't believe it, not only he was the host for the almighty dragon, but he complimented him. Wait, but if I am your host, doesn't that mean your body doesn't exist? Issei asked, curiously. Yes, I am just as curious as you, partner. That's a rather reckless move if you ask me. Drake said. No need to worry, you two, my body still exists. It looks like it's sleeping, but it's unconscious. If I ever want to leave, which I probably won't, I can. Great Red explained. I guess that makes sense. But what do I do now? I'm going to die soon anyway. So why are you here? Issei asked, his eyes devoid of any emotion at the remembrance of why this happened. Ha. You really think I'm going to let my partner die here? I sealed myself in your body for reason. Great Red said. Wait, are you saying you can save me? Issei asked, anxiously. Yes. First, let me heal your injuries. Great Red said. The bruises and cuts on Issei's body turned gold and began to heal, leaving no trace of an injury. Whoa, that was so fast. Issei exclaimed. Again, I am God, I can do whatever I want, little one. Well, what about the evil pieces? They're still killing me, Issei said. Great Red was reminded was those pests. He had an idea, however. Ah. Yes, I realized that when I sent myself into your body. Don't worry, I have a plan to expel them. It'll be long and painful. Are you ready? Great Red asked. I guess so. Issei said. Partner, brace yourself, this will be painful. Drake said. Alright, I'm ready. Issei said, confidently. I like your resolve, I guess Drake really was smart to choose someone like you. Great said. Great Red put pressure on the evil pieces inside of Issei's body, forcing it to expel itself. Georgia KAHH. Issei couldn't even finish screaming in pain due to coughing up large amounts of blood. The black spots on Issei's body began to bulge and stretch out, indicating that it wants to escape. Issei was still screaming in pain, his voice was slightly mixed with Drake's, giving it an overall deeper tone than normal. In a time of several hours, the pieces, one by one, flew out of Issei's body, cracking the wall or falling on the floor. In the former spot of the evil pieces was a hole pierces through the boy's body. Great Red was expelling the pieces while healing the holes. He eventually finished, but Issei lost consciousness soon after due to exhaustion. He would wake up a bit later on. 3 hours later. It was around 12 a.m. in the morning. He woke up to find himself laying down on the ground in the bathroom. He felt exhausted but could move nonetheless. Oh, you're finally awake. Harder. Drake asked. Issei looked at his left palm curiously. Yeah, what happened while I was gone? Issei asked. Honestly, it was very boring, all I did was sleep. I couldn't take you to your bed because I can't just move your body. Drake explained. Oh, well I'm sorry for making you bored. Issei said, sarcastically. Also, that wasn't the only thing that has changed, so has your appearance. Drake said. Huh? What are you talking about? Issei asked. Look at yourself in the mirror, you'll see. Drake said. Issei slowly got up from the ground. His legs were still weak, but not as bad as before. He looked at himself in the mirror, his eyes have never been wider. He had dark metallic black hair and crimson red eyes. Even weirder, his hairstyle changed. His twin tails were gone. But he was still recognizable if someone he knew saw him. An. Imagine Wang Ling from Daily Life of an Immortal King. You know, it was Great Red choices to make you look like this. Not mine. Drake said. Brute Red was listening into the conversation, but never spoke. Great Red. You did this? Issei asked. Haha. Yes. Tell me, what do you think? I'd say I did a pretty good job. Great Red finally spoke. Issei didn't respond for a while for whatever reason. But eventually spoke. Well, I don't hate it. But my old look was nice too. Issei said. Listen, I'm going to be honest. You looked fucking retarded back then. Great Red said. Issei yelled. So I agreed, even I would say you look disgusting. And I don't care about looks as often. And that's saying something. But it's fine, you look better anyways. Drake said. You too? Issei asked. We're just being honest if anything. Both of the dragons said. Ugh, at least I had people around me. Issei said. Oh? You mean your so-called mates? Forget it, I doubt they love you anymore. Great Red said. Yeah, I know. But how can I just forget about them? It's so hard, Issei said, tearing up. There's no need to cry, you're a different person now. Drake said. He's right, Issei, you're not the same person. They changed, so you did as well. Great Red said. Issei looked up at himself in the mirror again. He knew they were right. Changing the subject, Great Red spoke. Issei, you should probably start training to use my power, you won't be able to get stronger like this. Great Red said. Issei looked at his right palm with curiosity. I suppose you're right, but where do I even start? Issei asked. You should start by using my most basic attacks. Like for example, Dream Manipulation or Ultimate Dragon Shot. And not to mention my personal balance breaker I made for you. Great Red said. Really? Your balance breaker? Issei asked. Yes indeed. Right now, all you have is the arm piece. It'll soon grow into a full balance breaker. Great Red said. Whoa, that sounds awesome. Issei said. Issei walked out of the bathroom, he used the elevator and went to the training field to train. But he was interrupted by somebody. However, there's something else to worry about, Great Red said in a serious tone. Issei's eyes became sharp, indicating he was paying attention. Drake knew what he was going to say. but stayed quiet. Your life force is dangerously low, I'd say about 3 years left, but there's a way to fix it. Great Red said. My life force? How did it become so low? Issei yelled. Well, the pieces took a lot more years than I thought it would. About 7,000 years for each piece. Great Red explained. 7,000 times 8. Issei was thinking for 10 seconds but was interrupted. Around 56,000 years. Drake said. What? That's insane. Issei exclaimed. You would be happy, you were a devil at the time, so your life was extended by a great deal. Great Red said. So I suppose you're right. But didn't you say there was a way to regain the years lost? Issei asked. Yes, in fact, all you have to do is mate with someone, your life force will share with that person. Great Red said. That's all. I don't even have any lovers. Issei said. That's the problem. I know you, Issei, we've worked together before. And I know you cherish your virginity. But if you don't find someone within those 3 years, I will force you to mate with someone. Great Red said. Scary, but understandable. Issei said. Good. To activate my gear, just do the same thing you do with Drake. Great Red said. Oh. Alright. Issei held his palm out, he focused his mind on his right hand. Then, a red and golden gear appeared on his arm. Unlike Drake, the gear covered his entire arm. Up to his shoulders. The gear had tons golden gems around it. There were golden spikes sticking out of it as well. It had the same shade of red as Drake's. And there was a large snout on top of the shoulder. Whoa, your gear looks a lot more armored. Issei complimented. Great Red smiles in the gear. But soon got back to business. I think I know just the right trainer for you, Issei. Great Red said. Really? Who? Issei asked. You'll see. I'll call him right now. Thanks for watching this video. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support the NRXJEK the Snow Wolf for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story. See you in the next video. Goodbye.